can't believe we have a budget already.
I know, feels so early, right? We're
All
all
set?
set?
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna call the joint board meeting to order at 6:08 PM, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we'll open public comment at 6:09. I don't think anybody's here. We'll keep it open till 6:39. And then we'll go to the approval of the minutes from the May 28th meeting. Anybody have comments, concerns? And if not, can we get a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented for May 28th, 2025, public hearing and meeting.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Is that all yeas? Okay. It's a yes. And were you here? It doesn't matter. Okay.
Here,
No. All right.
Do you have what you need?
Motion passed unanimous.
Okay. All right, I assume Matt is up with the proposed budget.
Thank you. And good evening, everyone. And thank you for coming out tonight. I also want to thank you for taking the time to review the budget materials in advance of this meeting. I know we provide you a lot of data and information, and your attention to this detail is really greatly appreciated, so thank you. So in addition to this proposed budget, FY27 budget that we'll be presenting this evening, we've also included the budget summary. That's the Excel sheet that includes every account line by line. It includes 3-year history, 3-year average, both budget and actual, and is a good, if you're a numbers person, it's a good good document to review. The budget worksheets are included. That is the meat and potatoes of the budget. That has all the narrative for every account, explaining exactly what we're budgeting for, any change that we're proposing. We've included the assessment by district. So as you know, the SAU budget, once it is approved after the public hearing in November, that will be assessed by district, and it will be included in each of the individual school districts' budgets, and that's based on a calculation based on enrollment and property evaluation. And then finally, we've also included the salary schedules for all the SAU employees. And I do want to note that both our SAU budget and all of our school budgets reflect more than just the numbers that you see on the page. They truly represent our vision, our priorities, and really our shared commitment to provide the best educational experience for our students. And I do believe that this budget does reflect that goal. And as we go through the budget process in each of your individual school districts, we hope to achieve that as well. So our proposed FY27 operating budget does really reflect what it means to work together as a collaborative SAU. It's really built around the idea that we can serve all of our districts and do so more effectively when we share our resources, we can streamline our operations, and truly support each other. We really have a simple goal, and that's to run as efficiently as possible while improving our services for our students, for our staff, and really being stewards of our taxpayer dollars. Because we do need to be cognizant that while our main goal is to serve our students, we are utilizing taxpayer monies, and not all of our taxpayers are directly connected to the schools, although I think we all share a vision that strong schools do build strong communities. So while we're working together as one system, this budget also honors each individual school district's climate or culture and character, and the individual needs of each of our disparate districts. So it's really about finding that balance and creating efficiencies through that collaboration while keeping what truly makes each of our individual districts and schools special. So the SAU, what do we do? So the SAU is meant to provide centralized leadership and coordinates across the school districts. We look to implement the school board's shared vision. We support our principals with day-to-day operations, and we ensure that that there continues to be proactive, strong communication across our communities. When we're looking at curriculum and instruction, our goal is to align teaching and learning to the state standards. We look to oversee program implementation, and we're always we always really emphasize the importance of maximizing our professional development opportunities. When we look at finance and operations, we're here tonight. We manage our budgets. We manage business procedures, HR, human resources, facilities, transportation, food service, and safety planning. And all of those kind of back office functions and operations ensure both efficiency as well as accountability. And then finally, in student services, we oversee the special education, our students with 504s, behavioral health, English learners, our nurses and nursing function, and compliance areas that make sure that all of our students receive the necessary supports that they need in order to succeed. So as we look ahead to next year, we are anticipating a slight overall enrollment decrease across the SAU from about 2,044 students this current FY26 year to 2,033 students in FY27. So while that's a slight change, we always keep a close eye on these trends. We do conduct annual enrollment projections as part of both our short-term and our long-term budgeting and forecasting that helps inform us for areas like staffing, class sizes, capital improvement plans, and just overall budgeting when looking at kind of those variable costs like supplies, books, etc. Because even small shifts can have ripple effects when we're looking at enrollment. So it is important that we maintain accurate, consistent projections, and that will help us to make thoughtful, data-driven decisions for not only the SAU but for each of our individual districts. So the proposed FY27 SAU operating budget is $2,625,918. And that includes the use of $100,000 from unreserved fund balance. That represents a 2.91% increase, or about $74,000 more than this current FY26 budget, which is $2,551,064. So overall, this reflects a relatively modest strategic investment focused on maintaining our essential services, supporting our staff, and keeping our operations efficient across our districts. So this slide shows each district's share of the SAU operating budget after accounting for the anticipated revenue. And that's important because you'll notice the total allocation increase is greater than the overall budget increase. And that's because our projected revenue for next year is lower than our revenue for this year. So while the SAU budget itself is only up 2.9%, the district assessments are a bit higher because the revenue piece is lower. So there are four primary factors or budget drivers that are driving the increase to this proposed FY27 budget. First, we have labor relations, and that is essentially our legal costs in order to support the negotiations for new teachers contracts. So we will be bargaining a new CBA next year, which will we anticipate it'll begin July 1st of 2027. The second budget driver is the cost of living adjustment. So we do have a 3.2% cost of living adjustment for all of our non-union staff, which is aligned with the current consumer price index, so the rate of inflation. Third is in fiscal services. Sadly, we do anticipate a retirement, and it's a pretty significant retirement payout due to the long tenure of this employee, in 46, 48. What was that, Rhonda? Do you know the exact number?
46 or 47.
I think
Yeah,
it's 47.
I think 47 years. So we're excited for her, but sad for us. And then the fourth item is health insurance. We did have some changes in our employee plan elections. So that did increase our projected costs for next year. So together, those four items account for the nearly all of the year-over-year budget increase. Keep in mind that the SAU budget is primarily staff. So I'd mentioned the cost of living adjustments, and embedded in the SAU operating budget and embedded in all the individual district budgets that you will receive is a cost of living adjustment for our non-union staff. So this represents the salary increase that's applied across the entire SAU. So each year we do benchmark the COLA to the consumer price index in our geographic area. That's the Portsmouth region, to reflect our localized rate of inflation. So from July of 2024 to July of 2025, that index rose 3.2%, and that's the rate we're recommending SAU-wide for FY27. That is the consistent approach, data-driven approach that we have utilized for the last 9 years. So that helps ensure fairness and keeps compensation aligned with inflation across all of our districts consistently. So now we're going to move into the budget detail section of the PowerPoint. We'll take a closer look at each departmental budget, and I will note any increase or decrease, what's included in each of those accounts, and the reason behind any of the variances year over year. This will help give us a clearer picture of where the changes are coming from and how they support our overall goals for this coming year. So first is the improvement of instruction. So this account supports our professional development and curriculum work. It includes our Portrait of a Learner initiative and all of our PD across the district. So this budget is $38,353, which is a decrease of approximately $4,300 from last year. Next is the Board of Education account. This line item is $67,092, and that reflects an increase of roughly $13,700. Most of that increase covers that aforementioned labor relations costs. And again, that's associated with the negotiation of our new teachers CBA, which we do anticipate will begin in July of 2027. Additionally, other components such as legal services, salaries, contracted services, those have remained mostly level funded, with the exception of a consultant study that we are planning to engage in next year, and that's meant to review the SAU's organizational structure as well as our systems. And that's meant to ensure that we operate as efficiently as possible. So that will look at not only our staffing, and do we have the right staff or organizational structure to run the SAU? Is there efficiencies that we could leverage? And as well as our SAU-wide systems, when we look at like, student information systems, our websites, those type of things. So moving on, we have the Office of the Superintendent. So this proposed budget is $946,140. That's an increase of just about $10,000 from last year. That reflects the cost of living adjustment for our administrators and staff, along with small increases to our printer and copier contracts, as well as related operational costs. Those increases were partially offset by savings in our supplies, our workshops and travel, our dues and fees, and print materials. I'll also note that we have reduced our ESOL staffing, and that is going to change year to year. So we are recognizing, when you look at our expenditure report this year, we are recognizing savings in that ESOL, that contracted services line, because we have less student needs. So all of our districts will save on that line item. Of course, that can change from year to year based on the number of students that require ESOL services. When we're looking at human resources, the budget totals $183,222. That's up about $7,000, which again reflects cost of living adjustments and step increases for our staff. So, fiscal services, the budget for this area is $627,146. That's an increase of about $49,600. So, of course, it does include cost of living and step increases for the finance team, but the primary driver here is that anticipated retirement payout that we are planning on for the coming year. In the buildings account, the budget is $36,586. That is up slightly by $870. In this account covers our routine maintenance and repairs, along with our cleaning contract, our utilities, our insurance, furniture, and supplies. And then finally on this slide we have technology, which is budgeted at $127,686, which is a modest increase of about $4,700. So that technology account includes our systems and database administrator salary, our software licensing, our equipment, our maintenance, and our access fees, all those areas that support our day-to-day operations across the SAU. Moving on to employee benefits, the budget is $699,693. That's a decrease of about $7,700 from last year. So again, that reduction is mainly due to the change in our ESOL staffing, which does result in a reduction of a benefits package. However, this was partially offset by changes in our employee plan selections. That is somewhat hidden because of the ESOL reduction, but overall the decrease ties directly to that position and the corresponding. And I'll also note that there, in addition to the reduction in our expenditures, there's also a corresponding reduction in our revenue because the districts pay individually for those ESOL services. And then finally, I just want to note the unreserved fund balance. As of the end of the fiscal year 25, June 30th, the balance was $394,187. As I noted at the beginning of the presentation, we are recommending using $100,000 of that balance to offset the total cost to our district's assessments, and that will help minimize the local impact of the budget increase. That also, if you'll note, we utilized unreserved fund balance last year as well, and we have over historically. But this is a good year to continue it one extra year because we have some of those one-time big expenditures this year that's gonna fall off next year. So we have the retirement payout, we have the labor relations, costs, that those will all drop down. Next year, hopefully there aren't any unexpected costs that increase it, but hypothetically that will help us to then come off the utilizing unreserved fund balance. So as I wrap this up, I do want to take a moment to say thank you, not only to you, the school board, but also there are many stakeholders involved with the success of the SAU, and that's our school boards, our teachers, our parents, students, staff, and truly the broader community. And it's really, we really see tremendous support across the board, and that matters. That partnership really makes all the difference. It really allows us as the SAU to work collaboratively across our districts. It helps to strengthen our programs. It keeps the focus on where it belongs, and that focus is truly on providing the best education and opportunities for all of our students. So I do truly appreciate all of your commitment and the work you put into this budget process, and that engagement is truly important work. So thank you. Happy to go through any of the budget materials and answer any questions. I know I've been talking for a little while, so the floor is yours. Yes, Michelle.
Question, where does the unreserved fund balance come from?
Yeah, so as you know, all of our school districts have an unreserved fund balance at the end of the school year. However, at the end of the school year, when we close the books, that balance is returned to the town, and that's to offset tax assessment. It's different with the SAU. So the SAU can roll over any unused funds to the following year. That's really our only safeguard. So that's the individual school districts have the ability to have expendable trust funds and a retained balance to cover any unanticipated costs. The SAU only has this unreserved fund balance that rolls from year to year. So while it's a nice tool to lower the budget amount, we also need to be cognizant that we should keep a healthy balance there in case something happens and we have to replace a boiler or something. So.
Can you talk to me a little bit more about the retirement? Like, how does that work? Like, is it that you, how do I think about it? So, do they reach a certain point and that's when there's a payout? Is there always a payout as someone retires? I just want to understand the whole process.
Yeah, so the teacher's contract has a retirement payout built in the CBA, and all of our non-union employees, we align our managers and our administrators with that stipend, and then all of our non-union kind of staff have a lower amount stipend, and that's been our past practice that we've always followed. So.
And then my second follow-up question is, if you know that there's that liability out there, is it possible for you to accrue funds for that throughout the year so it's not one big hit, or you're not allowed to do that? You have to expense the whole thing when someone retires. Does that make sense?
I'm not sure if I entirely understand. We have to pay it out. I mean, we have one kind of funding source one time a year, and then I guess conceivably we could pay it out over a period of time, but typically we just pay it out at the end of when they leave, at their termination.
I guess, like, in my world, is probably different than yours. I would accrue for that every year and show the expense every year, but not pay it till the end, but you wouldn't see that huge.
Because we can't roll funds, we don't have the ability to do that.
Okay, I
Yeah.
figured that's what we said.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, the closest thing to that would be setting aside, like it'd be our unreserved fund balance, right?
Yeah.
So, which we're kind of doing by utilizing 100,000, so. Tracy?
Matt, you said that we're hiring a consultant to look at systems, and it sounds to me like they were IT systems that they're gonna be assessing, not operational systems and processes and procedures. Will the recommendations from that consultant go into the tech plan? How does the inputs and outputs from those kind of services move, to other areas of the strategy for the?
Yeah, so
Kind
so I may have overstated the technology component of that. That's a small piece of that consultant. It's really the organizational structure, and then some of our how some of our systems support the SAU structure, which is a little bit different than and much more simple than, say, the individual districts, because there's limited systems in place, right?
Okay.
So at the SAU level.
Okay, so they assess the organizational structure, they recommend a change, and that has an impact on one of the information systems. Are you saying that's what they'll be pointing out to you in their final report?
It's more about staffing than about our services
okay.
specifically, right? Are we staffed appropriately to provide the level of service that is required
Okay.
within our SAU?
Okay.
And, is our model, right, effective and efficient?
Okay, I get that. The use of the word systems, I know can go in a
Yes.
lot of different
Yes.
directions, okay.
Any other questions? So it looks like we need to make a motion, if someone wants to make a motion to approve the budget.
Yes,
Motion to-
just,
Ooh.
I just want to make sure everybody understands that from here, if the board approves the budget tonight, the next step would be the public hearing, which is currently scheduled for a couple weeks from now. But if you want to make any changes, this is the time that we would do that.
Mm.
Can I ask one more question? I noticed in Hampton Falls, our budget increase went up like 11% year over year. Is that because valuation of homes for people has changed significantly?
So Hampton Falls, I believe, had the highest increase, and that's a combination of and that's really the enrollment and property valuation. I'm not sure which one is more. I do know that Hampton Falls maintained enrollment, whereas some of our other districts had decreases in enrollment. So I can take a closer look, but I think it's more the enrollment than it is the property valuation.
And then with enrollment, do we count our pre-K students the same way as a full-day student? Would you count them the same?
No, because it's average daily membership, so they're not a full day.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve the SAU21 budget proposal for FY 2027.
Second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Looks unanimous. That vote's recorded.
Alright, so we'll move on to policies that are presented for first read.
Yes, mine aren't loading, but there are only 4 policies here for the joint board's review. These were reviewed by the policy committee, but they are all part of the board section of your policy manual. I'm happy to answer any questions, and these would come back to the board for your next joint board meeting for adoption.
You know what, I did have a question on the BEDG meeting minutes.
Yes.
Right, and the BEC non-public sessions. They didn't appear to be any amendments or strikeouts or.
Yeah, so the only change that was added, and I believe it's to both of those, were that there needed to be a recorded start and end time to your meetings in your minutes. That was a change to the law, but that's a practice that we've had. And I believe the same was true for non-public. Am I correct in that, Rhonda? That's my recollection.
I believe so. It's been a while since we've looked at that, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
I know that is true of BEDG, but I
Right,
will double
we just
check
made the
that.
updates that each of the boards had already made, but we hadn't made it to the joint board policy.
Oh,
So
okay,
it's the same updates that the boards have already had, we just try to keep everything in line
okay.
so that the joint board has the same one.
All right, any other questions on the policies? All right, audit questionnaire.
All right, so as you know, our independent auditor, Plezek and Sanderson, they did come on site to the SAU office back in August to conduct their on-site FY25 audit. So they reviewed all of our financials, our invoices, POs, our policies. They reviewed our fiscal control measures, and they will put together a financial report. That'll likely be in like the February, March timeframe. But as part of that process, they do stakeholder questionnaires or surveys. And one of those surveys is for the joint school board. You've all done this as individual school boards, but for the SAU specifically, the joint board has the pleasure of completing this questionnaire because you are the governing board for the SAU. So I have attached the updated questionnaire on board docs with the answers that the board provided last year. So this evening represents kind of the final formal public review. So if you have any corrections or adjustments, this would be the time to let me know. And then I will, assuming once we finalize this evening, I will submit the final document to our school board chair. That would be Lacey, and she will sign off on it on behalf of the entire joint board.
Any questions or revisions for that? Great. Matt again, finance. Oh, actually, before we go to Matt, we will close public comment at 6:41, and then back to Matt for the finance report.
Finance report.
It's the Matt show.
Fantastic.
It's been so long, too, so glad to hear from him again.
Thank you.
Wait till Monday.
Yep. So I have included both the fiscal year-to-date expenditure and revenue reports on board docs. On the expenditure side, you'll see we are tracking well. There is an account you'll see under the Office of the Superintendent, repair and maintenance, that we are over budget on for repair and maintenance. That was a result of under budgeting that account, but that's where our copier and printer contract is, as well as other services. Additionally, you don't see it here because you do see it, but you see available balance in the Office of the Superintendent under salary certified staff. You'll see there's $82,000 in available balance. That's the ESOL teacher that we did not hire, so we have savings there. Additionally, in benefits, you'll see that all of our accounts have a positive balance because of the benefits package, but that does hide, there is additional benefits package in there that was partial year, and it's a less expensive benefits package. So there is some overages there that you just really can't see because of the savings from the ESOL teacher. On the revenue side, we're starting to see some revenue come in. We have the assessments from the various districts. We have interest on investments, so that's our banking interest. As you all know, we are engaged with a group net metering agreement across all of our districts. in order to monetize those sustainability credits via hydro. Those funds are starting to come in as well. And then later in the year, we'll start to see more in the way of indirect costs. Those are the fees for the federal grants that we manage. Be happy to answer any questions in regard to either the expenditure or revenue report. Thank you.
All right. Solar feasibility study.
Continuing with the Matt show.
Oh,
All right,
okay.
this is a report I did not want to report on because it's not great news. So we, as you know, we contracted with CES, our energy consultant. They're the consultant we utilize to manage our energy accounts. So they bid out and negotiate our natural gas, our electricity, oil, and propane. They also work with us on the group net metering agreement. So they're the ones that we hired for the solar feasibility study to look at whether solar makes sense in our various school districts, both from a financial and just via connectivity and whether the roofs work, etc. So since we initiated that process, there has been some significant changes to the federal incentive programs that are directly impacting the viability of solar projects. Similarly, or because of that, the solar developers who we'd be working with, they are prioritizing our existing customers or their existing customers and commitments in order to meet the deadlines for the expiration of the incentives. That really limits their ability to engage in a feasibility study. The biggest issue is that we're not eligible for incentives, which is 30 to 50% off. So CES has advised us that it really would be cost prohibitive to proceed with a solar project at this time. There isn't an ROI now, which is an important component of any solar project. So what they're recommending is that we defer this study until either the incentive structures come back or we have market conditions that change. So say solar materials decrease in price dramatically, or electricity prices go up so high that it does make sense financially. But for now, it doesn't make sense. So we have paused that project.
Well, that is disappointing, but it does sound like there are factors much larger than what we can really deal with in solar. That's disappointing though.
It is disappointing. This is the time from a roof standpoint, because we just passed our roof project here at Winnicott, which will be completed in either the end of next summer or the following summer. So we were aligning this with, and many of our districts have just installed roofs. So it's this, and that would be the logical. That's what we're assuming that they would be placed at. So we have been planning this for a number of years for this timing. So it's really unfortunate that these incentives have gone away.
All right, any other questions or comments on that? All right, we'll move on to right to know log.
Thank you. So I know it is not news to you that our office spent considerable hours last school year, this summer into the fall, working on right to know requests, and some boards have asked that we provide updates on the time spent regularly at their meetings. One conversation that we had internally was whether or not the board might be interested in having us post that information on the website. So it is publicly available, it is public information. That is not a practice that you have had here, but we did provide links to a couple of other New Hampshire districts that do post that information publicly. So we bring it to you for discussion. I don't, there's not a right or wrong answer to that question. I think it is, we're looking to you for the sense of what you think will be most helpful to the community, and we have to do the work no matter what. We keep track of the time that we're spending on the work no matter what, but if you feel it would be beneficial for the public to know what those requests are, certainly something we could provide.
I think it would be beneficial for the public to know, because I think what happens is on other platforms, the social media and whatnot, things get thrown out there that we get one side, and so I would love it if we could do it and post it on our websites, that the actual truth and facts of what's being asked by whom and the amount of time spent, because I think we all feel the same way about this, that the right to know is great, and I think it is a definite positive thing when used appropriately, but when it's just being abused, I think it gets to that point where, as we know, and it has gotten abused in the past here, I think the public needs to know that it isn't what gets put out there on every other platform, so I'd love to see it and the facts get out, not the opinion, that way.
I agree.
Agreed. Yeah, I think transparency is the best policy.
In this example that was included, it might just be a connection that says,
You're on the first one or the second one? Okay.
Google Docs too long to respond.
Oh.
So the information itself that you claim, or this example shows, is it just essentially the requester, the specific item requested, and the amount of time spent, or is it all of the information that people are requesting?
No, it's a spreadsheet that simplifies who the requester is, the wording of the request itself. One of them does have the amount of time spent. I don't think the other did. And the date the request was received, the date the request was fulfilled, and you could also have, and I think one of them does, not the other one, the date the request was picked up, because sometimes we spend all the time putting the information together and people don't ever come to get it.
Anybody have a preference on which one they like?
When I attach the first one for Governor Wentworth, I realize as I click it, it's not bringing up what I thought it was.
It brought it up for me.
I can get some up. SAU39 came up pretty good, but
Right.
I got you both of them.
My first one.
I think it's.
I think the first one looks good, Governor Wentworth.
When you do the first one, when I went to Governor Wentworth, if you get to, why am I not getting it though? You guys are getting it.
I'm getting it, yeah, it
I'm
just says
getting
that
it.
sheet one, the request to know log for posting.
Yeah,
That's just,
I'm not getting that.
I'm not getting it either.
No, it doesn't
getting
say
it
the amount of
cloud.
time. I
If you
don't think.
scroll down, you guys get it?
No.
I'm scrolling down and I get it.
Yeah, when I
No,
scroll
I
down,
don't see it.
It says
has a chart, but on Governor Ware.
yeah,
I don't
may
get
just
it.
be a lot of traffic.
Oh, this is it.
True,
I just
true.
feel like people might, even if they see the request, they might not understand what goes into building that request, if it doesn't also have the amount of time allocated.
Yeah.
Some might see like you get, photocopy of paper, and people won't understand the amount of like, whatever it might be, like going through the papers and, the redacting of information, and so I think that is important, because that's one part of it, otherwise it just looks like, oh, this is a paper that was taken out of the law or something.
I like that idea, with the time involved.
Because that's really what, what the defense is.
Yeah.
So it sounds like kind of the combination, the date received, the requester, the requests, the time spent, the date responded, the date completed, and the date picked up.
Picked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you get all that? Because I was.
I did.
Thank you.
We're a team, Rhonda.
We are.
I just think that a lot of people won't really understand what the right to know request is or what it entails. So that, get a picture of that.
So perhaps some introductory language, like the Governor Wentworth District did, of what the right to know is.
On the page.
Yeah, instead of just the raw data, could explain it a little bit for people.
Do you want a motion for that?
Sure. I don't have a motion in here, but we can certainly.
Bud one?
Yeah. I think-
Wing it,
I
wing
think
it.
you could-
We'll wing it.
Yeah.
I make a motion to,
Let me catch up. Sorry.
make a motion to what she said.
But would you like me to
Easy
read that back?
Yeah.
To add a right to know request page to the website, providing an overview of what right to know is, including date that right to know request was received, the requester, the request, time spent, date responded, date completed, and date retrieved, I guess, by the requester.
Do we want to say going forward, and then for how many years that information will be on the website?
Let's put a start date would be good to know
Yeah.
when we start
The
doing.
second one example that showed the previous years when they showed their active one had links
Yeah,
to
links to different-
Right, because it showed like the current school year,
Yeah.
old
and then
school
it was-
years, you could click on each
Okay.
individual one and it would
Yeah.
show if it was completed or not.
Do we want to, well,
If we
Starting
went back
with
a year,
this-
I just don't wanna make it more.
I don't think we
more
can go
No.
back.
I don't think we're allowed to go back.
Starting November
Right, let's
1st,
just start it
basically?
from, like,
Yeah.
November 1st.
Moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving
Okay.
forward type deal. I think that would be the smart,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cause then we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot.
Just do it.
Hey, waste some more time on it, would you?
Oh, no, we have to track this. We've already
Make a
tracked.
separate
But we're not going back.
We don't have.
To make this
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Okay, so beginning November 1st.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, so we need a second, I think. Okay, and all in favor?
Ashley,
Any opposed?
thank you.
No, thank you.
That's unanimous.
Alright, so we're gonna go through the meetings, right? Before we do non-public, okay. So the joint board public hearing and meeting will be Wednesday, November 12th. Joint board policy committees meeting December 1st. Operations committee will meet January 14th. And the next joint board meeting after that is January 28th. So then we need a roll call to enter non-public session.
Need a motion first.
Oh, I'm sorry, we need a motion. I know, but I can't do it.
Oh, motion to go into non-public?
Yeah.
Okay, motion to go into non-public under RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2 at 6:57.
Just 2A.
And I have a second from Wendy Wallace.
Thank you.
Alex Rossinger.
Yep.
Go down.
Andrew Heitman. Ashley Hawes. Barbara Goodman. She did leave, okay.
Oh, she's here.
No, she's here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Hydrating, hydrating.
Casey Hashem.
Yep, yes.
Desiree Potter.
Yes.
Giselle Amana. Yeah. Hillary Brown.
Yes.
Jennifer Hubbard.
Yes.
Leslie LaFawn.
Yes.
Michelle Knowles.
Yes.
Nicole Seco.
Yes.
Renee Palm. Tracy Williams.
Yes.
Tricia O'Keefe.
Yes.
Wendy Wallace. Did I miss anybody? Okay. All right, you are now in non-public.
Okay, we'll give Kyle
So
just a
Kyle
minute.
can cut the,
Is this when we do the karaoke?
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Yes.
continue with your
Can
karaoke.
you start, please, Wendy?
Name that tune.
All right, looks like we got a thumbs up from the sound booth.